Hi quilting friends, I'm Linda Nitson with Sizzix, today to show you the doll die. The doll comes a couple of different ways. You can sew her simple with just plain fabric, or you can make her a little more complicated, but she's not really complicated. I'm going to show you the trick, but we're going to show you the easy doll first. So let's start with some fabric. We've got a nice petite print from Andover, cute stuff. The die itself has the body, 2 arms, and 2 legs, and we need 2 of everything. So 2 legs, right and a left, 2 of each arm, right and a left, and then 2 bodies, front and a back. Conveniently, the die has all the shapes on it. We just need to put our fabric on, double layer, and it doesn't matter if you have the fabric facing each other or facing out. In the end, it'll come out okay. So not to worry, we just need 2 of every component. All right, cutting pad on the top, cutting pad on the bottom. We're going to give it a couple of quick turns with our Fabby machine. If you have a big shot or a big kick machine, that's okay. The die works in all of those too. Slide the cutting pad off of the fabric, and then we have our pieces. We're going to keep those in pairs so that we line those up, and we're going to start sewing. So what I like to do first is sew the arms, and just like everything else, we're going to sew them right sides together, and you're going to leave the top of the arm open. So you're just going to sew right down the edge, scant 1/4 inch seam. When you get down to the corner here, go carefully, nice and slow. If you need to, make a couple of hand cranks and turns with your machine. Just nice and easy around those corners. In some cases, if you want to do these by hand, you can too. It's just as easy because of the start and stop around the corners. And then back up the edge. And you're going to sew both of those. Then what you're going to want to do is start with your feet. And your feet, you're going to do the same thing as you did with the arms, in that you're going to leave the top of that open. You can put pins in here if you'd want to, but I'm not. They pretty much stay together, so just give that a nice 1/4 inch seam. And if you have a 1/4 inch foot, watch out for that corner down here where the top of the foot comes in. One more stitch. There we go. And then pivot with your needle down. And then just like you went around the hand, you're going to go around the toe here. So nice and gentle. Pivot with your needle down. A couple of stitches and around you go. Be careful not to make them pointed unless you're trying to make an elf doll, in which case you can make a point on that toe. And it of course will make a little elf shoe, right? All right, now straight up the back side. Now you're going to make 2 of each of those, and you're going to clip the toe and the hand. So with little sharp scissors, you're going to just make little snip marks. Do not snip through that seam, or you'll have to start all over. So just right up to that seam to give it some ease as we flip that inside out. And we're going to do the same with the heel and the toe. So right here in that, and then you're going to go right around the outside here of the toe and around to the heel. And then we're going to flip them inside out. Now the easiest thing I've found to flip them inside out is a regular pencil. Now I know that there's a lot of tools on the market. If you have a fancy tool or you need to go get a fancy tool, you go right ahead. But all you need is a simple pencil and eraser. And that eraser tends to hold it into place while you flip. Flip them right side out. And then you can use the end of the pencil to move that fabric in place. And then just give that a good finger pressing, and we're going to set that aside. You're going to do the same thing with the foot. The foot goes a little bit easier because you have that toe piece in there. And you're going to flip that inside out. And then the same kind of thing, you're just going to move that end of the pencil, not the lead part, but the eraser part. And you're going to move that fabric out so that when you stuff it, it's easier. And then run your pencil across the edge here on both sides, and it tends to give that a little press from the inside out. Now, your pencil is not finished. Once you have all 4 of those sewn up, you're going to take your fiber fill, and with little pieces at a time, you're going to start by stuffing the arm. And I like to use that end of that pencil, just again, be real patient and stuff all that fiber fill in to whatever thickness you'd like. If you want it a little flimsier, don't put as much in. If you want it a little thicker, put more in. And then just give that a little push in there with your pencil. And when you have all 4 of them done, then we're going to work on sewing the body. You don't want your stuffing coming out the end of the arm or leg. You want to have enough in there for a little bit of a seam allowance when you attach it into the body. Okay, now with your front and your back bodies, you're going to put your fabric. So your pieces are going to be sewn right sides together just like you ordinarily would anything else. To line up the arms, you want them to go right inside the shoulder. But if you put your arm in this way, when it's sewn, it's going to come out with its arm straight out. Okay? So as you can, try and get that seam as far over as you can, and then you're going to lay the arm down when you go around to sew it. So we're going to put a pin right here to keep that one in place, and then we're going to do the same with the other side. So our arms are going to cross across her body. Be very careful to make sure that you sew them on the same point on each side, the shoulder mark. Again, if I put that up, so I want to put it just a little outward here, but I want to make sure that it lines up on the same side. Otherwise, my arms are going to be one a little higher on the shoulder than the other, so be careful with that. Just put a little pin. Then we're going to put our pieces right sides together, and then we're going to pin these. And you want to take a little bit of time when you go around these curves. You don't want her to have a football shape head. That would be bad. So take a bit of time. Go nice and careful around here. Take extra heed when you go around that shoulder. So we put the one pin in, we're going to put another pin in that's going to go through all of the layers. Now I'm going to leave the side of her open because I'm going to fill it from the side. So I'm going to put this one pin here that's going to tell me I want to leave kind of this part of it open. We're going to flip her inside out. Leave the bottom open and leave that side part open. And then tuck these arms inside. And it's going to take a little bit of wiggling around. If you have to, sew them in first and then come back over and move your pins around. If your arms come out a little bit on the outside of that seam, that's okay. It just means that they're going to be extra tight in there. Okay, so she's all pinned up. Remember, we're going to start here and sew around, and then we're going to sew up this little piece here. So we're just going to give these a couple of little, move that pin holder. Okay, now I want to jump over, so we're going to backstitch a little bit here so my seam doesn't come undone. Okay, we're going to jump over to that other pin. And again, take your time. Back stitch a little bit here too. And then we're going to go around that shoulder. And be real careful, don't sew over your pins. And then nice and steady around the outside of the head. Now, if you chose to put hair on your doll, you could easily do that at this point and sew that inside just like you're sewing the arms inside. And the hair can be made out of anything from yarn to extra strips of skinny fabric. Now you're going to feel that it's going to start getting real tight in there because those arms have nowhere to go. Just make sure that they don't get caught in your, you know, you just want them caught at the shoulders, not at the end here. And then sew all the way down to the end. And we're going to leave that opening at the bottom so that we can attach the legs. Okay. All right. Now you can audition it here just to tell if your head's going to be misshapen. If you have a flat spot on your head somewhere, or if your shoulder looks like our shoulder is going to be a little higher on one side than it is on the other, that's okay. It gives the doll character. Now before we flip this inside out and tuck the head in, we're going to want to clip around the neck and around the outside of the head. And it will, just like in garment sewing, you would clip around a curve. This is the same thing. It alleviates that bulk when you flip it inside out. Okay, then go ahead and give that, the arms a tug here. Flip that inside out. And then with the end of your pencil again, go ahead and run that eraser around the outside. Now we have the opening here on the side. We're going to need that for the legs. But we're just making sure that our arms are in good shape. All right, now we need to tuck this under and give it just a little press with our fingers. And we have 2 stuffed feet. So what we're going to do is we're going to line up, keep your feet facing in the same direction. Your doll would be in sorry shape if you had one leg up and one leg down. So keep them in the same direction. And then we're going to unfold this. And you're going to lay these legs up, and now you know where you need to fold it to. And you are going to carefully, right, so our legs are facing inward. So let's give it a little encouragement with a pin to keep it in place. And we're just sewing through the front layer. We're not going to sew through the whole body, otherwise you've got your seam on the outside, right? And I'm sure you figured out by now that your seam on your legs is facing the center, so you will see that seam right up there in the middle. Now tuck that fluff as far in as you can, and then get that bottom out of the way. And sew each leg individually. So we're just going to put that inside there, right there on the end, needle down. And I can take that pin out of the way now and give it a little stitch. And what we're going to do is we're just going to sew across that one leg to the other side and keep the back of that out of the way. All the way over. Now, with your needle down, get your presser foot up and then scoochie all that rest of that out of the way so that you can attach the other leg. And I like to run it up right next to that seam of the side of the body of the doll. And if you would like, go ahead and give it a little extra tuck with that leg joint inside the body. So you want a little more than just the the regular 1/4 inch seam. That's totally fine. Give that a little back stitch. Okay, so at this point we flip the legs out and we're going to push that bottom seam together, and you're going to whip stitch this by hand closed so that there won't be any seam down here visible. Now, we still have the side open. Theoretically, you could have stuffed it in 2 ways. You could stuff it this way and then hand stitch that closed. But to me, it's a little more awkward with the legs getting in the way. It's easier to stuff the head and the body from the side and then just whip stitch this last little bit closed once you have it stuffed. All right, and that's the body. So if you wanted to make the doll with clothes, like Zoe is, it's simpler than it looks. So if you take 2 strips of fabric and you lay them on the die already stitched up with the hand and the arm sleeve, it's just a matter of where you put that. If you want the arm a little bigger, or maybe you want her to have short sleeves, then make the hand piece a little wider and the shirt part a little narrower, and she could have short sleeves. Same with the body and the head. So here's the feet. If you want her to have capri pants on, then you would line up your pants way down to here, and her leg would come way up to here, and then her pants would come to here. Or if you wanted to make short pants on her, then the leg would come all the way up. You would make this neutral piece a little higher, and she would look like she had shorts on. All right, and how do we make the body? So the body and the head are all one piece here, one unit. So again, I would lay that on the die, and all we're cutting out is 2 pieces of the body, and I would lay the neck on there and the pants on and just cut out 2 of them so you have a front and a back. It's that simple, but it looks super complicated. Dress her any way you'd like to, have fun with it, and I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial.